My name is Reggie Mix Peters. Mix, M-I-H-X, stands for Make It Happen Experience, and I'm from the inward section of Manhattan, better known as Dykeman. What is my hustle? My hustle since 1984 has been taking hip hop to places where it has never gone before. I started by fusing breakdancing with ballet. I moved that into fusing hip hop with R&B. I changed up and started doing A&R direction and music business. And now today I'm the director of marketing and visitor services for the Universal Hip Hop Museum. Isn't this interesting to see MCs dressed like that in the 70s and the 80s? Wingtip shoes, fedora hats, bow ties. Very different from Adidas and FUBU and this and that, right? Very different. When kids come in here, like from other countries, I ask them, do you know what that is? They never saw a 45 record before. Some of them never even seen vinyl.
That's crazy. Bananas, right?
Nuts. COVID-19 put my hustle primarily on a standstill. We opened up our exhibition in January of 2019, and we was forced to close in March of 2019 because of the COVID. This is our symptom sensor. This is a COVID screener.
Oh.
Checks your temperature, your heart rate, and your respiratory rate. Like, I'm gonna get in there, watch, you'll see, watch. I'm gonna get in there so you can see it.
Oh, nice, perfect, 97. You guys are killing the game right now.
So for the last year, we have been redirecting ourselves, and we rebuilt our exhibition, and we regrouped and built more of a machine to actually get back into the flow. We just recently opened last March, and I'm glad that the COVID is over because now I can get back into the world and spread the love and spread the information about the Universal Hip Hop Museum. What motivates me is people that are excited about the culture, that want information about the culture. I love sharing stories of the past. I love telling people what it was like when hip hop was first born. I love telling people what I do creatively, and I love working with creative individuals, whether they're opera singers, gospel singers, rap artists, graffiti artists, break dancers, ballet dancers. I like to work with creative minds that are interested in fusing the culture in ways that it was never done before. The first generation B-boys is the Herculoids. That's King Trixie, Charlie Rock, Dancing Doug. Those are the original breakers, the ones that invented it. And then here you got Africa Bambaataa with Zulu Nation and the Rocksteady crew. That's Rocksteady crew on the bottom over there. Last one is Grandmaster Flash with the Furious 5 MCs.
Japanese artist? Mm-hmm. Hey.
A lot of people inspired me at different points in my career. When I first started, my biggest influence was Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. I wanted to be Grandmaster Melly Mel. I used to go around my neighborhood and say his rhymes off the tapes as if they were my own rhymes. I can remember going to my relative's house in Brooklyn saying Melly Mel rhymes, and they never heard them before. So this is going back to the late 70s and early 80s. And then as I progressed as a dancer, I wanted to be a Soul Train dancer. I was a Soul Train baby. I watched Soul Train every weekend. I wanted to pop and lock like the Lockers. I wanted to do the robot like Jeffrey Daniels from Shalimar. I wanted to moonwalk like the way they say Michael Jackson does. But there was a lot of people doing the robot, electric boogie, electric boogaloo, popping and locking, coming out of California way before Michael Jackson and the beat Billie Jean and the Thriller. What am I the most passionate about? My biggest passion is connecting people together from different art forms. I enjoy going into a room where you may have a bass player and a drummer and an MC and a dancer and a fashion designer, somebody doing the beatbox, somebody scratching a record. I like to take all of those elements and put them together in a space where we can create something new and exciting. And it's been pretty fun doing that over the years. I've managed to travel all over the world doing that. You know, I remember back in 2016, I was working with a reality show in Sweden. And what they did was they brought the top 15 recording artists from Sweden to the Apollo Theater in Manhattan in New York City. And we did like a fusion of Swedish music with hip hop and gospel. Nothing like that has ever been done before. So I'm still taking hip hop to places where it's never been, into environments where it hasn't been welcomed, into people that still haven't been exposed to it the way we have been exposed to it in the city. The idea for a museum dedicated to hip hop culture, I have to give credit to our executive director, Mr. Rocky Buchanan. This is his vision. This is his baby project. 10 years ago, he was working with some developers and they were talking about building a new real estate development with affordable housing and real estate for retail space. And he was asked, what would it be like if there was a place to celebrate hip hop? And he came up with the idea of a museum to preserve, educate, and celebrate the culture. So for the past 10 years, he's been on this mission 24 hours a day, pushing the agenda forward, building boards, building organizations, recruiting volunteers, raising money, raising awareness, and actually getting curators together to put all of the collections and archives in place. So now we're a long, strong team of about 60 to 70 individuals led by Rocky Buchanan, and we're actually building a museum for hip hop in his birthplace in the South Bronx. The process is still continually growing. We are 10 years later. Now we are at the point where we're raising millions of dollars with the city, the state, and the federal government and corporate sponsors. And we have a groundbreaking ceremony that happened a couple of months ago, right at our location on 610 Exterior Street where we are now, but across the street we will be building a 50,000 square foot museum with enough space to house 50 years of culture. So everything will be included in the storytelling from the origins of hip hop to the golden era of hip hop to modern day hip hop and even hip hop moving forward in the future. The community was our first offensive move. The community is who we went to, and we had what we called Envisioning Sessions, sponsored by Microsoft. And in those Envisioning Sessions, we basically did like a focus group where we asked all of the people in the community, if there was a hip hop museum in the Bronx, what would you want to see in it? What would you expect to have in it? And we gathered all of that information over a series of months. We traveled the country. We went to Los Angeles, Atlanta, Georgia, Detroit, Michigan, and New York City to get people's opinions on what they would want to see in a museum. What we found was they wanted it to be technology driven, they wanted it to be interactive, they wanted it to be colorful, user friendly, they wanted it to be very, very energetic, more like an open space for information as opposed to a cemetery of old information and artifacts.
Yeah.
Manhattan Institute of Technology and Microsoft invented these characters, Fox and Black Kirby. They introduced these characters called the Elementals. And what they do is, it's artificial intelligence. So if you look here, the elements ask you a series of questions about your taste for music and your likes and dislikes of hip hop. And it creates a custom narrative that teaches you about what information you gave it. And then along the way, some music playlists will come up and you'll be able to download the music from here directly to your phone on Spotify as you go through the entire curriculum. See, it asks you about every type of music.
That's cool.
Track, let's see what comes up. Okay, bounce. The biggest challenge for us as an organization is fundraising. We are on a $100 million project and we have to raise $100 million to actually build out the construction of the building and then do the interior fit out along with the design of all of the artifacts and everything that's gonna be inside the exhibition. So right now we're almost at our $40 million mark. So we're about $60 million short, and it's up to the community to add $1, $5, $10, 50 cents. We need the community to speak. So far, the federal government, state and local officials have already stepped up and have donated millions of dollars to the cause. We've got some great technology sponsors like Microsoft and YouTube who have contributed, and now we're reaching out to the community, the actual people who live and breathe the culture, to support itself, because hip hop is something that has always been of itself and supportive of itself, and we need to grow from within. The ultimate goal is to be the centerpiece of hip hop in general. We want our institution to be recognized as the global destination where you come to New York City to absorb the culture, learn the history, and get educated on all of the elements of hip hop. There's a lot to cover. You're talking all of the DJs, all of the MCs, all of the graffiti artists, all of the breakers, all of the fashion designers, the beatboxers, and all of the other things that evolve after those first initial elements. So we want to be recognized as the place where you get the truth, the facts, the history, and you're educated, so that way if you decide to use hip hop as a career path, you have a platform and a foundation to build from. Well, there's mixed reactions. Most of the people in the community are concerned with who is behind the scenes actively running the museum. They wanted it to be community-based. They were very careful about asking the question, who are the corporate sponsors and who are the people sitting on our board? And fortunately for us, this is a Black and Latino owned, Black and brown owned business. It's built from people that actually live in the community. It's built by people who have actually been a part of the construction of this thing that we call hip hop from the beginning. So it's not coming from outside entities. Yes, we have corporate sponsors, but they understand their role in helping move the vision along, but they're not trying to change the vision or control it from the outside. This is an internal operation, and it's run by the people who started hip hop from the very beginning. There was one negative thing I could say. People were saying, why do we have to have a museum run by Microsoft? They're white. They're not Black and Latino. They're not Black and brown. Why would you do business with them? And I say to those people that have that opinion, Microsoft did a wonderful thing by stepping up, coming to the inner city in the Bronx and providing technology and providing resources and creating jobs and opportunity to people that are not from Silicon Valley, that are actually from an urban area in New York City that can benefit from a Microsoft, from their technology, from their resources, from their finances, and from their ability to reach the masses around the world. So we had to take a bigger approach and look at things from a larger level and say, yes, a partnership with Microsoft puts us in another echelon. It's not like we're partnering with Sprite or Red Bull or Adidas or somebody that's associated with hip hop regularly. This is bringing a whole new entity of technology and resources into hip hop that's very important to the future of hip hop. If there was one thing that I would ask of the people is to come visit us at the Revolution of Hip Hop. We're in the Bronx Terminal Market in the mall. Our address is 610 Exterior Street. We are running an exhibition now that's covering the time period from 1980 to 1985, which is a critical point in hip hop development. This is the time period when most of the records were first recorded and released. This is the time period when movies were produced. This is the time period when music videos started to happen and even national tours started to take place. So this is the turning point where it started to leave the community and actually move itself into mainstream America before it really commercialized around the world. So I think this time period is critical, and I think people should just come and see what we have and get involved with the movement and just figure out ways to help us build this. This is not about us. This is for the community. This is for the Bronx specifically, but more importantly, it's for everybody who's associated with the culture, whether directly or indirectly. Find us on Instagram at UHH Museum. We have an Instagram page. You can find us on the website, Universal Hip Hop Museum website is uhhm.org. You can register and purchase your tickets online. You can make donations. You can read about everything that's going on with us. You can see who the behind the scenes people are, and you can actually post some questions on the internet on the website to get some answers to some things that you may want to see in the future museum that we're building across the street. The one thing that I want to tell people about the origins of hip hop is, yes, the Bronx was the physical location. We all understand that. But there's always been a debate of how hip hop started, where it started, and who started it. So what I would like to say to people is, yes, the location was the Bronx, and many of the people were Bronx residents. But it wasn't exclusive to Bronx residents. It's not like they were isolated away from the rest of the boroughs. There were people traveling from Brooklyn, from Queens, from Staten Island, from Harlem to these parties in the Bronx, participating in these anniversaries and these jam sessions, actually participating in some of the battles. So it was really a New York City effort. It's just that the Bronx was the birthplace and it was the central location in the beginning. But I must say, going all the way back to Dougie Fresh, DJ Hollywood, The Feel Is For, or maybe the Crash Crew, those were groups coming out of Harlem early on, along with the groups that were coming out in the Bronx, like the Fantastic Romantic Five and the Cold Crush Brothers and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. So for me, it was a melting pot of people that was traveling around finding wherever these DJs were playing, and they was making their way into these parties, whether they were from the Bronx or not. But it was a Bronx thing. It is a Bronx thing, and that is why we have our location physically in the birthplace of hip hop, the South Bronx.